right, let's get down to it. Um, so I was saying a couple days ago, I ended up playing Conker's Bad Fur Day a while ago. I had played it uh, when it had first came out too. I just wanted it to revisit it because it's a very classic game from the Nintendo era. It's gotten like a cult following, which I understand why, because it's a very diverse game. It's a very I would say there's a lot of twists and turns. I think that's the big if you want to sum it up, and it has a lot of references to movies, and that's what makes the game great. Like some of them fly over your head, and that's fine because that's what happened to me. It still happens to me. I don't even remember a lot of the movies they reference, but the fact that they were able to reference so many games or so many movies in the game is just incredible. But we're gonna pick two chapters here that I think were one of the best, which were the later chapters, right? In Conker's Bad Fur Day, and we start off with Spooky, and I really love the summary here that they give. It says Spooky is the seventh chapter in Conker's Bad Fur Day and Live Reloaded, with the previous chapter being Ooga Booga. I remember, yeah, the one with the caveman. That was another good one too. It is a horror-themed area complete with an old mansion, which happens to be the lair of Count Bacula in a graveyard. Alright, so picking between Spooky and War, let's start with Spooky. So Spooky, Conker ends up running into the wheelbarrow, and he runs, and so he gets trapped. And the problem is, so he runs into the death guy. He ends up greeting you after you die first, and he ends up the Grim Reaper. And he basically you run into him. He starts talking about how he hates the catfish. His usual saying, I just hate them, those cats, and Conker's like, okay, whatever. Yeah, and he talks about, and so you end up walking around and you find that there's a giant door that's blocking your pathway. So, you travel around and you notice that there's kind of like a lever. When you hit that lever, the door opens, and it's kind of like spooky, right? Like it's creepy when it opens. It's like, it even makes that sound, like the creaking sound. You're kind of like, okay, well, we know where to go next, right? And before you can enter, I actually wanted to do this, but I don't think the game lets you. I wanted to skip past the Grim Reaper to see what happens if I just go in the door, but so you have to go past the Grim Reaper, because he tells you there's a rich ancestor of Conker, and what happens is he gives him a shotgun, basically, because he tells him, you're gonna run into zombies, my dude. You're gonna run into zombies and you're gonna need this. So he gets the shotgun, and it's cool, but oh man, I remember when I was a kid, I could not get past this level because the zombies were just so creepy. It was creepy, and they were bigger than Conker too. So if they like started chopping or munching on you, if they got too close and if you didn't kill them, it would just be this big giant like ugly face with like an eyeball popping off, just staring at you and about to attack you again. It was just creepy, and then the music was just also creepy. You could hear like if there was like just quietness, you could hear like a girl like laughing in the background. It was just spooky. It's just spooky. It's great. Okay, it's great. Okay, and then so he gets to the mansion. He meets his ancestor, and he makes. Long story short, he makes him into a vampire. He feeds him blood by getting villagers that want to kill his ancestor. And once he feeds him enough villagers, he dies because he's too heavy to hold on to the rope. And then Conker returns back to normal, but now he has to escape the mansion, and the mansion is locked with 3 locks. So you need 3 keys to get out, and then so you have to travel the mansion. If you die once, you have to get all the keys again. And guess what? There's zombies all around every corner. You have to go in the library to get the first key, and then the second key's in the graveyard, and the third key's a little tricky. And when I was younger, I actually got the third key faster than when I got back to it. I was like, what do I do? Because like I saw where the third key was, but I didn't know how to get it. So it's just a really spooky atmosphere that I think anybody who loves horror would love. And I also think that it's just like Conker being just alone, mansion filled with zombies, and he has to literally pummel them down to get out, because if not, and the wheelbarrow's just there. Like, the wheelbarrow's there for you to get out, but he's just standing there. He doesn't say anything to you until you like unlock all the doors. And I didn't even understand why the wheelbarrow was there. He was just there, and it's just creepy. And then the music, it all blends in very nicely. And I wish there were more levels like Spooky, to be honest. When I think about it, it's just what a great chapter for Conker's Bad Fur Day. The whole game was great, but this chapter was my favorite. Even though I was scared of that first graveyard scene, I still am. But I'm more like kind of like, okay, I know where to shoot you now. I know where to lock in. I'm looking around all areas. I'm not just looking forward. You know what I mean? So yeah. So we move on to War, which is the next chapter, and this one was pretty cool too. It references the movie Saving Private Ryan at the beginning. In the beginning, you actually have to do a couple of steps to get on the boat first. And Conker's he ends up getting smacked on the head. He doesn't even want to go. He just sets them up. And then the leader's like, hey, what's that over there? And then Conker looks and he hits him and he gets him put on the boat. And it's hilarious because then he wakes up and he sees everyone like, where are we? and then once the guy says in the back, okay, everybody ready? Nice knowing you guys. And then Conker's like, what's about to happen? And then the door opens and then everyone starts getting shot. It's literally the same exact scene as Saving Private Ryan in the in D-Day, on D-Day, right? And the whole game is just basically Conker just blasting his way into the Teddy's War I would say nest, and just trying to save one of his comrades and to basically fight a big teddy bear that's controlled by a little girl, a doll girl, and she basically does the exorcist. She does the exorcist twist on her head, and it's also creepy too as hell. It's just kind of like, what the hell? What the heck? It ends up great. Don't want to spoil it too much. He ends up escaping, but there's a catch to it. So yeah, so in these 2 chapters, which one would I think is quote unquote better? I mean, I think better is not the right term. I think it's just I guess it's just preference, because they're both great. They're both great chapters. Like, if one of them had not been included in it, I would have been upset. I would not have and I wouldn't even know, because I'm pretty sure the creator of Conker's Bad Fur Day wanted to add more chapters in there. I think the game was just like he had to like limit like the story, I guess, a little bit, but I'm pretty sure they had more ideas to add to Conker's Bad Fur Day, which I'm always like, why did they never make Conker's Bad Fur Day 2? I'm like, I'm still waiting to this day when they'll announce Bad Fur Day 2, but I don't know what's happening with Rare. I don't know what's happening with them. I don't know, because they're owned by Microsoft, but then they didn't make games, and then it's all just the direction of Rare is just it's actually kind of like a tragedy, because they made so many great games back then, and now they just I don't know what they have been making. I haven't heard from them, etc., etc. So, but these games are an example of what they were capable of, and people still remember these games. People still remember these games, which is why they're so iconic, and they're always fun to go back and play again. So they're just a treat. They're a treat, and it's just, they're amazing. Like, there's no other words for it. It's just, it makes me feel sad, because it's just kind of like there could have been a Conker's Bad Fur Day 2. It could have totally been. But anyway, so what would I prefer, Spooky or War? I like to play the war mini game a lot in the multiplayer, that one's always fun. I actually played that for hours. I would always play Total War back then, like lots and lots of times. It was just really fun. Okay, my decision might not sit best with the other people who favor the other one, but I'll say Spooky only because of that. I'm just a horror fan. It's just subjective. Like, the war chapter is very good, but I just like how the Spooky chapter led up to it. It was just very, very random. Like, random in the sense of, he gets on the wheelbarrow, it crashes, Conker faints, he wakes up in the middle of the night. That's a total shift, because all the activities have been during the day, and now it's night. And now it's just kind of like, what's gonna happen? And all of a sudden you're thrust into a place of zombies, and your rich ancestor, who is a vampire, and a huge ass mansion, which in the back is literally his labyrinth of literally, like, basically he's been killing villagers for years. His ancestor before, his great ancestor or something like that. Conker talks about it a lot, but so I just like that the story was just thrust into it. It's just so random. It was just put in the perfect spot, and then after you escape that, you end up getting a video where it's like, it's time for war, let's huddle up for the teddies and stuff, and it's just like, oh, it's a total different shift from horror to like, all right, now we gotta gear up and kill the teddies, even though Conker doesn't want to. He's just thrust into there too. So I think War is also pretty good. I think it's actually like my second favorite in the whole, and then I think it's I would say that my third favorite is probably between the Matrix one or I think Ooga Booga, because I think the other ones were shorter. The chapters were shorter. Like the barnyard one was was shorter, but that one was funny. Like with the flower and stuff, and the catfish too. That chapter was actually kind of interesting too. Anyway, so that's my choice, but I still love the war chapter as well. But gotta give it to Spooky, because I'm just a horror fan like that. Anyway, guys, Peace.